Hi, I'm Lois Ritarossi, President of High Rock Strategies. Welcome to the webinar, Direct Mail and Beyond, a show and tell of digital transformation hosted by Polaris Direct. Today we have a dynamic session with 3 speakers, and I will be moderating the session. Polaris Direct is a nationally acclaimed direct marketing, services, and printing company. They specialize in one-to-one and highly personalized communications. In the next hour, you're going to hear from mail industry expert Mark Fallon, president of the Berkshire Company, and Judith Maloy, director and CEO of Polaris Direct, and Krug, vice president of Data Axle. Mark is going to provide an overview on innovations and trends from the Postal Service. Judith is going to share client success stories leveraging tools and technology for direct mail programs that are driving marketing results. And Ed is going to provide insight on how data augmentation is enhancing customer acquisition and customer retention programs. Okay, before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is live. It is being recorded. All attendees are in listen-only mode. And we will use the chat feature for questions throughout the session. You can open up the chat box on the right. Feel free to type questions in, and you can type questions for all panelists, and we'll handle your questions throughout the session, or we'll get to them at the end of the session. We appreciate your participation today, and we have some great content for you. So let's start with a poll. We'd like to hear a little bit more about those of you who are out there attending live. Our question is, what industry do you work in? The poll question is on the right panel below the chat question. It'll open up. Chris has opened it up, and you'll see we have options for some of the largest vertical markets represented in the United States, as well as other if yours isn't there. So we'll give you a moment or two to make your selection to tell us what industry that you work in so we have a better sense of who is out attending the webinar today. Chris, are the responses coming in? We'll give everyone a minute. We know we have some diversity in terms of the large group of people who have registered, and we'd love to see a little bit more and hear a little bit more about what vertical market you're in. Okay, responses are coming in. All right. So, Chris, can you close the poll for us so we can see and share the results? And the results are, okay, we have 14% in business and professional services. We have several of you in media and publishing, some in healthcare, some in consumer products. So a diverse group of people out there. We thank you for your participation today. Okay, our first speaker is here to share an update on trends in the Postal Service. It's my pleasure to introduce Mark Fallon, my colleague and friend. He is a dynamic speaker who's going to share insights gained from a career that has spanned from a part-time mail clerk to an officer in the U.S. Army, from a corporate executive to a very successful entrepreneur. Mark is a postal, mail, and operational expert. As president and CEO of the Berkshire Company, he helps his clients develop solutions using emerging technologies and expert leadership. And there's a lot going on in the post office. Mark, well, we welcome your insights today.
Thanks, Lois, and thanks to everyone for participating today. You know, there's an old saying that all publicity is good publicity. Well, the Postal Service is pushing that to the limit right now. We're hearing a lot about the Postal Service, and mostly what you're hearing may not be good news. What we want to share with you today is that, yes, there are challenges, but there are responses that you can take as marketing professionals to continue to make your mail invincible and make it effective as part of your campaign. So what are the 3 challenges facing the Postal Service? The first is you've heard a lot about blue boxes being removed and mail sorting equipment being removed. That is part of the Postal Service's ongoing efforts to streamline their operations, cutting the fat where they can. The chart on this slide shows you that first-class mail volumes have been steadily declining. And I want you to really look at that bottom volume line, because that's the single piece mail. That's the mail that would be putting into those blue boxes. And it's been steadily going down over the last decade. Now, direct mail, the mail that marketing professionals use, that stayed constant. And so that mail is presented to the Postal Service directly. It bypasses this. It's pre-sorted, so it bypasses that sorting machines. So while that change is going on, I really want to stress this is part of an ongoing plan that the Postal Service has to make sure that they're lean and efficient for the future. The other challenge, of course, it's impacted all of us, is the COVID-19 pandemic. The Postal Service had two challenges at the same time. The first was the increase in packages that it had to handle. Now, this is good news, right, because it's additional revenue for the Postal Service, but those packages are harder to handle, and they require more manpower and person power, I guess I should say, to process. And that's where the second challenge came in, which is that 5% of the Postal Service employees were directly impacted by COVID-19. By that, I mean either they contracted the disease, they had to take care of a family member that contracted the disease, or they were single parents and had to stay home to take care of their children because the schools were closed. Now, 5% of 600,000 people, that's a big number. But what I want to stress to people on the call today is that 95% of the Postal Service employees are showing up every day doing their job. Just as, the vendors are stronger when they're a team, or if you're a DC person, the Justice League is stronger because there's a team. The Postal Service is stronger because they have that overall team. And then the other challenge that you've heard of in the mail is that there have been workflow changes that were implemented this summer at the direction of the new Postmaster General. Now, Postmaster General DeJoy comes from the logistics industry. So he looked and saw that the Postal Service trucks were not leaving according to the schedule. So he requested that the Postal Service adhere to their own schedule. However, that had an unintended consequence. The mail wasn't always ready for the trucks. That's why they were late. So when they left on time, it meant that some mail left the next day instead of the day that was regularly planned. They also tried out a new system called ESAS, which is Expedited to Street Afternoon Sort. What that meant was that when letter carriers came in, instead of casing mail for a few hours, they prepped their mail and got into their delivery vehicles as soon as possible. That meant they could get to your mailbox earlier during the day. And then they would come back in the afternoon and sort the mail for the next day's delivery. So again, that added to that ripple effect where some of the mail was getting delayed. Want to emphasize, this was a trial program that the Postal Service has stopped. The other program, the Postmaster General testified before Congress, he has stopped that as well. So these were attempts by the Postal Service to meet the challenges of today. That's something we all do. However, as direct mailers, as marketing professionals, there are responses to those challenges that will keep your mail invincible and keep your mail a powerful way for you to communicate with your customers and prospects. And your first response is to make sure you partner with postal experts. It's not enough just to have your mail piece beautifully designed. It's not enough just to have your mail piece professionally printed. You have to make sure you partner with an agency and a service bureau that can take you through the entire process to make sure that your mail is properly prepared for the Postal Service, to make sure that your mail is properly prepared in such a way that you're achieving the lowest possible postal discounts. That's really important. So when you are selecting a partner for your marketing campaigns, make sure that that mailer is a postal expert, not just a print expert. Then once your mail is in the system, that postal expert is going to take advantage of something called informed visibility. Now, when you look at your mail every day, it has an intelligent mail barcode on it. The Postal Service scans that barcode every step of the process. So with informed visibility, your service provider can get scans back from the Postal Service so they know where your mail is in the system. Think about that. How important will it be for you to know when your mail is getting to the recipient? That means if you know the mail was delivered today, you can launch a social media campaign. You can launch an email campaign. You can launch a mobile messaging campaign. You can do all of that because you have this data from the Informed Visibility platform. But it's not just Informed Visibility. There's another great program called Informed Delivery. Now, Informed Delivery is a service with the Postal Service where the recipient signs up and every day gets an image of all the mail that they're receiving that day. This is mine. I use it constantly. I love Informed Delivery, especially back when I traveled a lot and hope to travel again. I know when my mail is getting here. And you're going to hear Judith talk about some campaigns that she's used with her customers where she gets to include a color representation of that mail piece that's also a clickable link. Now, with over 62% of people opening up that email, think about this. You get one touch because they've opened the email, they've seen the image. You get a second touch because they've clicked on the link and gone to your website. Oh, and by the way, that physical piece is still going to get delivered. So you're getting 3 touches for the price of 1 postage stamp. That's invincible mail.
That's fascinating, Mark. We actually have a couple questions.
Sure.
So the first question is, people don't necessarily think of innovation and associate that with the post office. You've shared some very interesting concepts in terms of the services with informed visibility and informed delivery. What's next is the question. What other innovations are coming? Are there any secrets you can share?
Well, so informed delivery right now, that campaign is a universal URL, right? So you're sending out a mail piece. All of your recipients are going to go to the same page. The Postal Service is in beta testing right now to make that a personalized URL. So Lois, when I send you something and you click on it, it's a special campaign specifically for you. Think about how powerful that will be when you combine that with all the data you know about your prospects.
Well, and Judith is going to share some amazing examples of personalized, customized mail. So I'm sure that we'll hear more about that. The other question is, there's been so much in the news about mail-in voting and concerns about the post office. So the next question is, should there be any reason to be concerned about the United States Post Office's ability to deliver to the election mail and the holiday season?
So the Postal Service is prepared to handle the election mail. If every person in the United States, every eligible voter, I should say, voted by mail, that would add about 300 million additional pieces, right? Ballots going out, ballots coming back in. That is about 2 days, maybe 3 days for the Postal Service. The Postal Service processes over 1 billion pieces of mail a week. So 300 million pieces. And by the way, and it's not all coming at once. People are using the mail now for their ballots. They're using the mail now for the election. So these 300 million pieces, and it's not going to be that many. The estimate right now, it's only going to be about 60 to 70 million pieces, is going to be spread out over 3 to 4 weeks. That is a very minor increase for the Postal Service, and it's less than what they see at Christmas time, right, with all the cards and letters that go out.
So that's fascinating for you to put it in context so that people can feel confident in the postal system. We have a few more questions, but we're going to move on to our next segment, and time permitting at the end, we'll bring you back on for some additional postal-related questions. Thank you, Mark. It's really fascinating to hear how the post office is changing and leveraging technology and data.
Thanks, Lois.
Yeah. Thank you. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Judith Maloy. Judith is the Director and CEO of Polaris Direct. Judith has an extensive background in direct marketing. Previously, she worked as both an account director as well as a vice president for several national direct marketing agencies in New York City before she made her big move to New Hampshire. Under her direction, Polaris Direct has achieved national acclaim both for growth and many awards for compelling direct marketing programs. Judith is an active member of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council and serves on the WeBank Marketing Committee. Judith, we have a diversity of people attending today across a lot of vertical markets, and most marketers have really had to make dramatic changes to their marketing strategies on the fly this year. What trends are you seeing in the services and the programs that you're helping your customers with?
Well, thanks so much, Lois, and thank you to everyone who's sharing an hour of your time with us today. So we really, welcome you and are glad to have you with us. And so, it's true, many companies, 2020 has been an amazing year, and there's just been so much happening. And, of course, due to COVID, things are shaking out in many different ways. And I'm sure we're going to see how the pandemic plays out on certain industries as time goes on. But I'd like to start the conversation today with one of the biggest trends that has been unfolding, over the last decade. If you look at this chart, just within the last 10 years, we've seen an explosion in marketing technology that has made an impact on the direct marketing industry. So Scott Brinker, he's a VP at HubSpot and an editor of ChiefMartech.com. He started tracking the growth of the MarTech industry back in 2011. And back then, there were 150 companies. And if you fast forward to today, 2020, there are over 8,000 MarTech companies represented in many categories, from data service providers to software developers, email marketing platforms, SaaS, the list goes on. So specific to direct mail, we've seen an increase in the number of programmatic mail platforms, digital print workflows, web to print portals are now becoming a little more mainstream. Data service providers have been the fastest growing segment of the direct marketing industry over the last several years. Data is really the fuel for successful direct mail. Ed's going to talk a little bit more about that with you later. But we truly are in this age of digital transformation. Digital can mean two things to direct marketers. One, it's direct marketing, anything related to online advertising, email marketing, search, Google Ads. But digital also means digital print. And digitally printed content using 4-color variable data print technology is really has come about in its own today and really has grown significantly. So let's just talk about a few other trends that are transforming the direct marketing landscape. Focus on the customer experience. 80% of consumers say that the experience is as important as the product and the services. Customers expect that brands know their preferences, and brands are expected to know something about their customers and share that. When we are able to deliver multiple channels at every stage of the customer journey, we can not only attract new customers, but grow and engage existing customers. So an important part of the marketing landscape today. Always on consumer. Today, consumers are always on their devices. 96% of adults own a cell phone. 81% are smartphones. You're either a digital immigrant like me, those over 35, or a digital native. The always-on consumer has grown to 48% of the population compared to about 10% in 2010. We will see that number rise, of course, as digital natives, age into the marketplace. This increase in the always-on consumer doesn't mean we should walk away from the mail, right? I mean, the mail is important, and we're seeing that right now during COVID. And let's just talk about at home, right? There's the saying out there, says, send the right message to the right person at the right time. I'm sure all you marketers out there have heard that. During COVID earlier this spring, Google reported that there was a 40% reduction in U.S. drivers on the roadway. We're all at home. People are at home. And So what better place to target them but to put a piece of tangible, marketing material in their hands. We saw a slight reduction in mail volumes this spring as a result of mailers kind of reassessing their marketing messages due to COVID. But we are seeing this uptick now as marketers and mailers are getting back out there. Now more than ever, marketers should target their customers with mail. Seize the moment. Get your message out there in the mailbox to your best prospects and your customers. Mailboxes are so much less cluttered than inboxes, email inboxes, especially these days. So in New Hampshire, if, we are not at home doing our work or attending school, we're out there on the hiking trails. So I snapped this photo of a message on a New Hampshire trailhead. And this person certainly had the right idea, right? They knew where to find their audience and get their message out there. So mail is invincible, and it can be the hero of any multi-channel campaign. When direct mail and digital channels are used in combination, the response rate is enhanced anywhere from 20 to 45%. Mail is still the most trusted brand in America, despite of it being in the news today and the USPS, being challenged. 90% of households check their mail daily. It's, really part of our DNA. So personalization is one of the biggest changes in the print and mail industry. And with the adoption of VDP print technology, we're able to create highly personalized content. Digital printing has been around for a while, but high volume mailers were less able to take advantage of it because it wasn't as scalable as it is today. So using high-speed VDP inkjet can create that highly personalized content and do it at scale. Marketers no longer have to worry about plate changes or print lots or housing inventory. White paper print technology, as we like to call it, we are able to take any amount of data and create one-to-one content that is personal and relevant to the recipient. So this has really transformed the print world and the mail world. For one of our clients' quarterly newsletter programs, we've been able to reduce their print and mail cycle time by as much as 88%. So VDP Inkjet has given marketers the advantage of speed to market. For example, for mailers that have pre-printed inventory prior to the pandemic, they may have had to scrap it and create new content. Well, with white paper technology, we can reduce print and mail cycle times, increase speed to market, but just as importantly, we can eliminate waste and excess inventory. Let's see, where do I go from here? So programmatic direct mail, online, offline channel integration. I believe we will see more use cases of online, offline channel integration. We are seeing programmatic or trigger mail being sent in response to visitors to a website. The anonymous visitor data can be taken and then you can append it. Using a third-party data supplier, you can append physical mailing address information, and using VDP print, we can personalize and mail and be in home within a week's time. So that process for trigger mail is really getting speedy. Mark talked a lot about USPS informed delivery. It's important to point out that your mail piece should be designed with this digital channel in mind. The address panel is no longer just for the address block or a place to dump some small print, some legal disclaimer copy. Formats like postcards and self-mailers are a great place to add additional personalization and create enhanced bold graphics that the informed delivery customer will see when they open up that email alert and read their what's in their mailbox on their digital device. Every piece of mail is scanned, as Mark said, and if the recipient has informed delivery, they will get a grayscale image of the mail piece. Mailers can choose to add a color representative image or a ride-along image if they wish to. So from my perspective, this is a really underutilized channel. Currently, the USPS is offering a 2% postage discount for mailers who integrate informed delivery into their mail campaign. The service is basically free from the United States Postal Service. However, hey, no free lunch. As a mail service provider, we do charge a nominal fee for uploading the IMD data and for also creating artwork for the 4-color rep image and the ride-along image. But it's still really a low, a low cost, and it really is a cost-effective, easy solution for integrating an additional touch point into your multi-channel campaign. Mark mentioned the stats. There's 30 million people who are signed up for informed delivery, of which 25 million of them are the email users that get that alert on their cell phone. Signups are increasing every week. It's building a lot of traction. 86% of informed delivery users open their email alerts daily. Informed delivery has an average click rate of 7 to 8%, click-through rate of 7 to 8%. We've also seen at Polaris with our mailers that use this that there is anywhere from a 10 to 20% match rate for email users on clients' mail files. Let's see where am I. So let's talk a minute about that multi-channel approach. At Polaris, our platform for multi-channel integration is called Postal Link. And through the Postal Link platform, we are able to upload IMB data, the intelligent mail barcode data from a mailing campaign, and create a multi-channel campaign that includes social match. So if you look at the top of this chart, so social match is any mailing record that matches to Facebook and Instagram. We can serve them social ads even before the mail hits the mailbox. With enhanced mail tracking and informed delivery, we are able to time email deployments and, of course, include informed delivery. So all responses drive to web and either to a general website of a brand or a specific landing page for a campaign. Once there, we know, Google tells us that, 98% of those that visit a website leave without doing something, purchasing whatever. So we can track them with digital ad retargeting on the Google network as well as on social, Facebook and Instagram. We also have the capability of matching and identifying visitors to the site, identifying them and then appending a mailing address. We can use that information to track attribution for the mail campaign. So that kind of in a nutshell is the anatomy of our multi-channel approach. So it really all comes down to, enhancing the mail, making the mail, more invincible. Digital channel integration and marketing technologies really do boost ROI. Successful integrated marketing campaigns capitalize on the best qualities of each marketing channel to achieve the highest engagement rate and meet customers where they are.
Well, Judith, the amount of technology available and the ability to have direct mail messages align with people's online behavior has just, opened up a new world to marketers. I know that we're in the fourth quarter giving season. I know that Polaris has won several awards for assisting clients in the nonprofit sector. Can you share more about how you're leveraging these specific multi-channel technologies for your clients in the nonprofit world?
Sure. So this is a use case for Gilda's Club Twin Cities. Most of the challenge they had was most of their previous fundraising was from events. They did some solo direct mail and email, but they, really never launched an integrated multi-channel strategy for their donor appeal campaign. So we launched a series of 3 mailings, all included digital channel integration using email, social match, and digital ad retargeting. One of the most effective ways that nonprofits can raise funds is through storytelling. So we created a unique format for each mailing, telling the stories of 3 Gilda's Club cancer patients. And the mailings were sent to past donors as well as prospects that we identified, looking at demographics such as, household income and propensity to give. So looking at a donor prospect base of customers in the Twin Cities area. So while we did not track donations by channel, overall responses, it was the best campaign they've ever, executed. Overall response rate was about 3%. The average gift was $410. It exceeded the overall goal by 10%. 20% increase in number of donations over year over year. So, and as you can see, the email, social, and digital response was pretty good as well. So I think overall, this integrated approach really gave them a robust fundraising appeal.
Well, it's very impressive to see that mailing at around 8,300 pieces, and then those digital ad and displays generates another 216,000 touch points. It's fascinating. I'm just glad to see that they're leveraging technologies and services that you can provide to assist them as nonprofits really need to move into the multi-channel world.
I also will say that, we were able to version, because we're using 4-color DDT, we're able to version and actually personalize information concerning, their past donation amounts for the active donor base. So we can really kind of create relevant messaging with personalized DDT.
Yep. So Judith, I started my career in banking and financial services, and I know you've worked with clients, and an ongoing marketing challenge is how and where to open new branches and how to make them profitable. Please share the story you told me about how you guys helped a regional commercial bank.
Sure. So it's a community bank here in New Hampshire was launching a new branch in the capital city area, and they are headquartered in Hanover, New Hampshire, and they have a huge presence in the Upper Valley and in Vermont, but not so much in Concord. So we created a mailing series targeted to prospects and customers within a 35-mile radius of the new branch. So really a localized campaign designed to build awareness. We combined the mailings with informed delivery and created representative and ride-along images for each mailing. So if you look at the visual here, it was sent to 22,000 people, prospects and customers, as I mentioned. That first in the series of mailings was an oversized postcard with really a soft call to action, just letting people know that there was a new branch in town. It was sent in the middle of September. And as you can see, the ride-along image in the informed delivery campaign mirrors that of the postcard. And it's also probably worth mentioning, if people aren't familiar with informed delivery, that if you do choose, if a mailer does choose to do a ride-along and put some 4-color imaging in there, your mail piece actually automatically goes to the top of the email feed. The second in the series was a roll fold self-mailer introducing recipients to the branch manager, and it had a cashback offer. So when you open an account, it was a $200 cashback. This mailing was sent last Monday, so we are in the middle of this campaign right now. The last in the series is an invitational self-mailer, letting the recipient know that the branch is finally open, and that's scheduled to mail next week. We've included a QR code to drive to web for that special offer for when they open an account. Preliminary results, like I said, we just are launching this campaign now, but I can share with you what's happened so far with the postcard. The matches on the mail file to informed delivery are at 15.7%, which is a great match rate. So, and we're seeing that informed delivery email open rate is at 66% with a click-through of 1%. So far, we've had, with this first postcard mailing, about 1,700 visitors to the site with a matchback rate of 2.8% to the mail file. So good results so far, and I expect that the email open and click-through rates will continue to increase with the subsequent drops. So more to that next webinar.
Great. We look forward to the update at the next webinar. E-commerce has exploded during 2020 in the pandemic, as we've all learned to shop more effectively online and stay in our homes. And one of the questions that came in on the chat is, what is programmatic mail? But I know that you have a great story to tell for an e-commerce company. So if you can share a little more, and also let us know, really, what is your definition of programmatic mail?
Yeah, programmatic mail is really it's the idea of turnkey, automated, much like programmatic advertising, online advertising. It's programmatic in the sense that it can be automated, right? So, and a lot of people have different, different software technology that supports their programmatic approach, right? But programmatic, essentially, in a general sense, is trigger mailings and automated mailings that are done in a turnkey way. And actually, we're doing one for this home decor e-commerce retailer. So for the last case study, we partnered with Data Axle on a pilot with their clients. And we wanted to capture those visitors who left the site without making a purchase and target them in the mail with a personalized postcard and a special offer. So we were able to create personalized trigger mailings or programmatic mail using a templated design where images, copy, and offer can vary based on the recipient's data. So we were tagging and targeting categories like bed, bath, general, tech, and wall art. You see them in the postcards here on the right. So using that templated design, we are able to vary the image, the copy, and the offer, again, based on what the recipient was searching for online. So the turnaround time for these mailings was within 48 hours of the receipt of the data. Postcards were mailed first-class mail so that we could be in-home and quickly engage with those interested. I'm going to let Ed talk more about the results so far and the process for modeling and creating the data files, but in essence, this is a great example of the use of print digital workflow and incorporating 4-color variable data print.
Wow, Judith, thanks. Those are some really remarkable case studies with results that I'm sure your customers are thrilled about. To expand upon the data landscape, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Ed Krug, Vice President of Data Axle. He's in charge of, he's a strategic partner of Polaris Direct, and he's in charge of strategic solutions and sales. Ed has more than 25 years of direct marketing experience, both on the B2B and the B2C side. And he helps clients leverage business intelligence to develop integrated campaigns to drive new customer acquisition and retention. Ed, we know that the world of data has changed dramatically. Can you expand upon and tell us a little bit about some of the changes you're seeing in the data landscape related to direct mail?
Sure. Thank you, Lois, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. You know, while Mark was talking about the technology advancements at the post office and Judith talking about print technology advancements, did you know that your data is changing just as we are sitting here? So over the last hour, what I would like to do is kind of show you how your data has changed. So did you know that over the last hour, over 500 business addresses have changed? Over 870 telephone numbers have been disconnected or changed. Over 1,500 URLs have been created or changed. And if you're in the B2B market, 158 companies have changed their corporate structure, which means either the prospect that you were dealing with has left or new people have come in. But there's some change there that should give you a trigger to go ahead and reach out to that individual. So what does that really mean to you? It means that maybe you might be missing your target, but never fear, data is here. So why are so many companies hesitant to use data? Because it's so darn confusing. People are pulling out their hair all the time. Every data provider is telling you that, hey, my data is the best. My data is the best. This is the most accurate data. And then you have privacy concerns that you have to think about. CCPA, GDPR, CAM spam laws, depending on the type of data that you're looking for. And then there's also several misperceptions about data. Companies feel that if you want to go out and use data for your own marketing campaigns, you have to be a big company. Not true. You have to have a big budget. Again, not true. I have clients that are spending $2,500 for the year to append data to their customer files so that they can market to them more effectively. And then the third misperception is that data is too complex to handle. If you're with the right data provider, they will give you the support and the guidance to bring that data in so that you can use it effectively.
So, you know, Ed, I talk to a lot of marketers, and what I'm hearing repeatedly is they're overwhelmed by the amount of data, the variety of sources of data, internal data and external data. How do marketers know what really are the best sources to use to help them achieve their marketing goals?
Well, if you don't want to pull your hair out like this woman here, what I suggest is let's take a look at the data landscape. So this is an example of the top 5 consumer data providers, A through E. They're all very similar in what they say about their data, But what we're going to see is how they are very different. So, for example, if you're looking for home value, and that is an important data point for you, you can see that of the top 5, they're all pretty even. So you have a lot of options. But when it comes to age, you can see that there's a lot of variation between the data provider. So provider B shows us that they have the most accurate information, and that is good. But do they have enough information within that good data point for you to execute your campaign? If they don't, you might have to look at provider D or E, who might have more data within your core market, but it may not be as accurate as provider B. So 2 things you want to consider. A, what is the source of that data? B, what is the quality? And how much data do they have that I need for my particular campaigns? I will tell you the B2B marketplace is just as confusing. I have in red here the 2 remaining original source compilers of B2B data. That's Data Axle and Dun & Bradstreet. And those 2 sources are very different as well, because the data is built for 2 different purposes. So again, due diligence is very important. As you come down in this graph, you will see many other data providers that we're all probably familiar with. But they too are compiling that data through different sources, whether it's web crawling, public information, surveys, so on and so forth.
So Ed, we shared that data comes from many sources and it's not all the same. And knowing how to get good quality data is great. But once you get the quality data, how do you help clients? How do you help clients make better decisions in real time to have more effective campaigns and strategies?
That's a great question again, Lois. And we kind of look at data that can apply to a business in 4 different areas. One is in acquisition, and I'm sure we all use data, whether it's RFM data, internal data, or if we get third-party data, to understand who our customers look, who they are, what do they look like, and data can help you to kind of profile who your best customers look like so that you can get a good understanding of what market you want to go out and prospect into. Retention is another very viable area that data is used so that you can understand what offers are relevant to your customers and what channel do they prefer you to communicate with them through. The third area, which I think plays an important role for a lot of marketers out there, is reactivation. A lot of marketers will take their older customers or lapsed customers and say, okay, let's just take the last 5 or 6 years and let's go ahead and send them once a year. Well, what data can help you to do in that group of lapsed customers is to pick out who is the best customer to contact today, not taking a section or a swath of your customer file and just mailing everybody with a good, strong offer. So data will allow you to really go in and select the individual that you want for that offer for that time. And then, of course, we know that business intelligence plays an important role in the area of data so you can learn more about your particular customers.
Well, as marketers have to have, more solid strategies and be able to leverage data. Judith shared the e-commerce story for the home decor company, and I know that data was critical in really allowing that campaign to be successful. Can you share and tell us a little bit more about the data strategy and how did you get consumers back to the website?
Sure. So let's take a look at this particular case study, and I'll go in depth a little bit more from a data and a process standpoint. So you have a company here who is a true multi-channel organization. They drive traffic to their website to make purchases. They send out email promotions to their customers. They have a very strong catalog campaign going on. And then they also do solo direct mail offers. So you can see that they are really involved in all sorts of channels out there. What our challenge was here was basically to try to turn browsers into buyers. So we're essentially identifying people who come to the website. We have tags on certain pages based on products, so we can capture what category of products they're viewing. And then we're capturing that before they make that purchase or without making the purchase. So here's an idea, here's an overview of the solution that we've created. It's basically, from a data standpoint, it's a three-step process. Number one, we want to be able to understand from that incoming traffic what products have those people viewed, and are they products that we feel we could follow up with a direct mail campaign and convert into a buyer. Number two, in order to identify those buyers, we went through a scoring process where we would take both demographic, psychographic, and transactional data to identify what type of buyers we want to continue to market to. And then number three, as Judith mentioned, we want to deliver a highly personalized, relative direct mail piece going to that individual within a timely fashion. So our first step was to identify the visitor traffic. So we created three different buckets. Based on the tags that we placed on certain product pages, we wanted to identify current customers that did visit those pages. Then we wanted to identify customers who visit those specific pages. And then our third and most important group were the prospects. So what we're able to do is to identify net new prospects who visited the pages that we have tagged. So now we know an online visitor who was interested in the products that we're looking to promote, and now we have created that list per se from the website. Once we have that list, then we go through our modeling and scoring process. So because we're delivering a direct mail piece, we are looking at online visitors who would make good direct mail buyers, because we all know online traffic doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be good direct mail buyers. So you have to figure out that characteristic. So we go through an append of transactional data, demographic data, and then we also do additional suppressions at a postal level so that we're not including any current prospects that are in our direct mail campaigns. Once we have that data appended, then we go through a scoring process where we take all the visitors, and based on direct mail activity and responsiveness, we then apply a modeling score. That modeling score will then allow us to look at those individuals in that group and say, hey, this person, this person, this person, they all make good direct mail buyers based on past history. So then we create the file, and then we output that to Polaris Direct. And we do that twice a week. The time that we download the file from the site to do the processing, the part that you see in the middle there, takes us about 24 to 48 hours to create the output file. So let me just kind of review some results here for you. The response rate was close to 50% over what we had anticipated. Average order value went from a projection of about $70 up to a little over $100. But I think the most important part of this function is the fact that we're able to identify unique prospects from the prospecting source that we're using currently, which includes third-party lists, co-ops, so on and so forth. So what this particular kind of program allows us to do is to take those unique visitors that are coming in through the web and identifying those that would make good mail buyers. matters, because we all know in the world of direct mail, if you generate a new customer through direct mail, they're going to have a higher average order and a higher lifetime value.
So, Ed, I know that it's a pilot program, but it sounds like the results are very impressive. What's been I guess, if you could point to one or two things from a data strategy that you think has really made a difference for this customer, what do you think those are?
Well, I think two things. Number one, speed to market, being able to put that direct mail piece, that tangible direct mail piece in their hands to remind them what they were looking at. And number two, the ability of identifying the right prospect to invest that direct mail marketing dollars into. So let me also talk a little bit about some of the other things that drove the success. And I think one of the most important parts of this is that at Data Axle, we have a motto, and that motto is, let the data guide us on our decisions. And I can tell you, based on Forrester research, only 50% of marketers out there make decisions using data. The other 50%, assume what they know. They've seen other research, but they don't have a good, clear understanding of what the data is telling them. I think the other benefit was using a variety of data sources, not just age or income, but we've used lifestyle information, and we also use transactional data, because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's all about orders as well as response rates. And then, as I mentioned, speed to market, and then being able to deliver a relative and pertinent offer to those clients. So let me just leave you with a couple of thoughts. We all know how important data is, but Apple, as we all know from the privacy issues out there, they are looking at data all the time, and they know that data is going to guide them to making the right decisions, and I think the success of Apple has proven that. But I also think, as we all know, Gordon Gekko, one of the most valuable commodities I know is information, and I think that was true back in the 80s, and I think it's true today, and I think it will be true moving forward, because data will change, and data will help you to grow your business.
Ed, fascinating. Thanks for expanding and showing us ideas about the landscape and the strategies, and just really the opportunity to make better decisions that are really driving marketing strategies today across all of the verticals. We're going to open it up for questions. There are a couple of questions in the chat. Judith, one question for you was one attendee has asked and was curious about VDP and printing technologies. Can you give us a little overview on maybe a little more of the technologies that Polaris is using?
Sure. Let me get back online here. So, so I'm just full disclosure, I'm the marketing brain of the operation here at Polaris Track, and there are operations and print production folks that, are so much better at answering technical questions around our print technology, but I'll give it a shot. Basically, what we have at Polaris is roll-to-roll, high-speed, 4-color variable data print technology. And it's a screen. It's a 520ZZ screen technology. We also have Ricoh sheet-fed digital print technology. So there's a whole lot of choices out there when it comes to digital. The best and the most, the technology that's really appropriate for high-speed direct mail is the screen technology, given that it produces output at 722 feet a minute. So that's a whole lot of, direct mail letters. And essentially, it's any amount of data that you give us, we can create that personalized content and do it, in zip stream. So there are no more lots. There's no more print lots. There's no more of that offset pre-printed shells that come into play, where we're then just personalizing black, to give it a personalized, tone. So there's a lot more to that. I mean, but essentially VDP is where it's at when it comes to print and mail.
So thank you. And yes, we know there's a whole lot more to technology, and thanks for providing the overview, and Ed in talking about data. So Ed, there was another data question, and as you know, data is complex for some people, and it kind of goes over their heads. And as you said, 50% of marketers are not making data-based decisions. The question is, what's the most important thing marketers need to know to use data effectively? That's a big question.
Man, that is a huge question, and I don't know if there's really even one answer. I guess if I was going to answer that, I would ask the person, what data points are important to you? What data points do you need to identify your customers, or what data points can we use to understand your customers better? So instead of answering the questions, I think we kind of have to look inside and say, what can we find out? Or what do we know about our customers that we need to verify or we need to understand? Are they high income? Are they older? Are they younger? Are they business addresses, or are they consumer addresses? So there isn't any one answer to it, but I would just say that a thought of what data points would be most important to you or most helpful would be a good starting point.
Thanks, Ed. Yes, data is a starting point, and putting it together obviously requires more questions. So Mark shared innovations from the Postal Service. Judith and Ed have shared how their clients are using intelligent data, leveraging technology to drive strategies for effective direct marketing results across many different verticals, how highly personalized direct mail is driving activity across channels. We've had a few questions here. We're almost at the top of the hour. So I'd like to thank Polaris for hosting this event. On behalf of Judith and Mark and Ed, I'd like to thank you for your time and participation today. We will send out a link for the replay. For more information, please visit the Polaris website at polarisdirect.net. We thank you and have a great rest of your day. The webinar is done.
Thank you.